Hi friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com, and I'm not having a particularly good visual day. I don't have too many of those, but I wanted to put myself on film to say thank you to Justin Michael. I found out yesterday that I was the winner of his Dodal tarot deck, and it just blew me away, and I'm extremely grateful. For those of you who follow me, who you probably already follow Justin Michael, but if you don't, go give him a holler and watch his YouTube channel. He's a fellow who lives remarkably near me. I live in I guess what people would call the Jersey Shore. And Michael lives where my people are from. My people are from, some of my people on my mother's side are from South Philadelphia. Broad and Reed, watch the Mummers Parade. And it's just interesting because, Justin is from there also. So it will be fun to know if we have ancestors in common that knew one another. And Justin and I will, Justin has graciously offered to interview me next week, December 5th, on his channel. And my heart is willing to drive out there. It's not that far, and I would love to meet him in person. I really would. But I have a number of health issues, and sometimes it makes it challenging. At any rate, thank you, Justin. I appreciate your generosity of spirit and your kindness. Today's video was an idea given to me by Chopstick Tarot, who was one of my subscribers, and I don't know he or she. So I'll say they asked me if I would do a rundown of the 4 tarot encyclopedias, the 4 volumes of tarot encyclopedias by Stuart Kaplan. And I thought that's a great idea. So thank you, Chopstick Tarot, for the idea. And I'll flip the camera and we'll look through each volume to give an idea, because maybe you would just want one or a few of the volumes, and you don't need to buy all of them. So it's kind of handy to know what's in which volume. So let me switch angles or camera angles, and we'll get to it. So let's start with volume 1. Now I did a little cheating here to put tabs so I can easily go to the different sections. The first section is an introduction to tarot. It gives you terminology. It goes through the tarot trump and triumph cards, although Stuart Kaplan persists in calling them the major and minor arcana. This section also discusses astrological signs and correspondences. The next section, I believe, also talks about the pips. There are a few, images, but they're black and white in this little section. Then we see, he gets by page 17, we're into the whole Kabbalah roadmap, correspondences. Earliest references to playing cards, which is a very interesting section, historic-wise, and some images of playing cards. Let's see. And then early types of Tarot cards and other similar cards. And as you see, black and white. Some are photographs, and some are drawings, diagrams. And we have the Montaigne cards, is what we're looking at here. Okay, then we go into, he spends considerable time exploring the Visconti and Sforza families and their, their history and their symbology, or their symbolism for their family. I believe one of the Viscontis was killed in a river, and so I think there's a connection made with the fountains for that, a nod to that. I don't know if I read it here or elsewhere. And there's a section on locating where these old decks were, these Visconti Sforza decks were. And then we, by page 108, we're looking at other hand-painted tarot decks from other notable families. Some of them are from Germany. Here's the Estensi, possibly the Ferrara or Venetian court. Others may disagree with that. I'm not going to argue with anybody. So you see this looks rather like the Budapest. Let's see, fragmented sheets. I'm not wearing my glasses. I can't see what they're saying. They're just saying it's a 15th or 16th century deck. Fragmented sheets. I'm not sure who they're identifying it as, but it looks like the Budapest. I don't see the name there. And then we have the Solobuska, Exploration, the Minchiadis, the Rothschild or Minchiadi cards, the Rosenwald. So it goes into, and the Parrot, the Anonymous. Oh, this is the Caitlin Joffrey. And then this looks like the, oh, I don't have this one. I'm not sure what this is. It just says Classical Tarot by an Unknown Artist. Let's see what else. And I'll just thumb through the book. Let's see where our... So we see lots of images, particularly when we get to the 18th and 19th century. This is the Montiero, I think it's called, Montiero. Let's see, I don't see the name on this. But I do believe that Lo Scarabea Antiqua, Anima Antiqua, has a reproduction of this recently. So particularly of the 18th and 19th century, we see lots of images. And in the very beginning, we get a history of the earliest tarot decks, associations that were made by the occultists, etc. Okay, let me pull the second volume. I should mention, too, that what I decided to do was to look at the table of contents of the books and just show you the different sections of the book. And it's funny because although I've read these volumes, and I don't want to say from cover to cover because I read them as I've been sparked with interest to learn about something, and then I'll go to this, I'll go to these books. If you're interested in historic decks, then I believe, you'll be most interested in the first volume that I already showed you, and this one also. Okay, so let's take a look. Again, we have early references, a section on early references of playing cards and tarot. We have, where it appears in popular culture, paintings, written documents, guess frescoes, perhaps poetry. And these are all references made. Let's see. In this section, we have the Visconti and the Sforza cards, where they were found. I imagine it goes into that, and in the cases where pieces, missing cards had to be recreated. But if you want to know about the Visconti Sforzas, this is a very good source. Let me check that out. And then the Sforza, and then this is about the Visconti family itself. And I'll tell you, very treacherous, very treacherous. And the Sforza family, what it meant to be in power, right? What it meant to be in power. And we have a few color plates in the section about the Sforzas, the Viscontis. And then the Sforza section, let's see. A bit about where they lived. Information about each of them. Alrighty. This section would be about the tarot artists, Bonifacio Bembo, and the 15th century tarot artists. So this section makes us aware of other artworks. That's interesting. The Witch. In an eerie and tangled wood, an old witch stands on a slab, holding a distaff. Above her is a sphere of moon and stars, and a mysterious light blazes in the upper right corner. Woodcut attributed to Holbein. Wow. Sequence and titles, and again, he references them as the major arcana. But he addresses all that, identifying the cards. This section's on early tarot makers, card makers, 5 centuries of tarot card makers. So as I go through it, you may recognize some decks. And a section also, I believe, on discussing, the tax stamps and maybe of interest. So you see there's quite a lot, even though they're not all color, they're black and white mostly, but there's a lot of reference material. Recently I read a book. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, I can't think of it, but it was a book on early Italian decks, and on the cover, I think it's this one, and on the cover, they had a deck that wasn't Italian, and I was like, why would they put this image on this book that's a discourse on tarot from the 1500s, So I went through these books. I went through volume 1 or volume 2. I'm not sure which one I found it in. But I was like, I had they didn't give any credit or, to the cover image or anything. I had no idea what it was from. And here I found it. And I made a sticky note for myself because I'm prone to forget things. Jean Galler Tarot, similar to the Vandenborre Bacchus and can't read my handwriting. Oh, the Bacchus and Capitan, Brussels, 1750, Belgium. So, you know, through the use of this book, you know, these volumes, I'm constantly looking up random cards that I don't know where they came from, you know. And as I said, there was no reference, you know, to that deck that it came from on that cover. So, oh, my bad, sorry. So there we have volume 2. Lots of information, lots of images. And if you're persistent enough, you can find just about any historic deck, as long as there was at least one image saved from a deck. You're likely to find it here. Okay, let me get volume 3. So here we have volume 3, which I believe is the thickest deck, excuse me, the thickest volume of all. The index begins on page 680, so there's a lot of content here. This book, however, does seem to be dedicated mostly to modern tarot decks. There's a section in memoriam for Pamela Coleman Smith. Their deck, she and Edward Arthur Waite. Other popular decks of the 20th century. Now, I don't know what copyrighted I have here. I imagine more recent would have more recent copies, right? It looks as though my copy is from 1990. My copy of this book is 1990, so I guess I have the first edition or the first printing. So let's show. So as I said, the beginning section is a section on Pamela Coleman Smith and Rider-Waite, the Rider-Waite pack, and about her other experiences in the theater. The influence also of the Solabusca is referenced here. Information you want to get out of this on this topic. I apologize, it's not very easy for me to hold the tripod steady. But this volume is more in keeping with Occultist Tarot, post Waite Coleman Smith. But lots and lots of images. So, I mean, there are some, 20th century decks that are out of print, hard to find, and you can check out this bad boy and see what you can find. And now let's go to the 4th volume. Now this volume, I think I have copyright 2005. So I think I have the first edition of this one as well. I didn't check all of the others, but I tried to get them as they came out, but some of them I just didn't have the money at that time, because I think the books kind of were always pricey, So I got them as I could, but sometimes I was fortunate enough to snag a first edition. So let's see. We have I'll just show you the categories, the contents. We have unpublished tarot decks, published decks, a section on the Rider-Waite, and tarot decks from Japan. Antique and ancient decks, we'll check that out. That's on page 669. So this one must be the thicker volume, the most thick volume, because I said maybe volume 3 was, but here the index doesn't even begin until 780. So I guess this one wins that prize. A whole section on the Tarot of Marseille. A section on ancient Egyptian stuff. Tarot packs. Does tarot work? I guess a discourse on that. So let's check it out. So lots of tarot decks that we may not have ever heard of. This one is the unpublished tarot decks. This section is all unpublished. So we have a few color plates here. Now, we're all familiar with the Rosenwald and the Budapest, and here we have it in the unpublished tarot designs section. And bear in mind that the way this deck came to be known to us is that a few pages of the runs were found in between bookbinding. So for whatever reason, perhaps the copy that has been brought to us, to our attention, was a copy that was unsuitable or not considered good enough for printing. So it got repurposed. The paper was repurposed for bookbinding. And thankfully, that's how we have found a few tarot decks. Okay, so this section of unpublished decks is kind of thick. Now I want to see, here we go into the published decks. And they're listed, all the decks are listed in this book alphabetically. So once you find this chapter and you're looking for a published deck, it's in, alphabetical sequence. I'm sorry about this. I'm not a technical person, unfortunately. This is probably as good as I can get without assistance. I just wanted to show you the book. So, I'm going through the pages generously. I'm flipping with generous chunks, and we're still in published tarot decks. So it's got a lot of modern decks. Lots. Again, if you ever have a curiosity about seeing a deck and not knowing where it came from, this is the source. And, I have these decks. So, I have these volumes. So if any of you are ever interested in, me helping you, I'd be more than happy if you sent me an email message. We see the lovely Vachetta. Let's see. And here we have a section on the Tarot of Marseille. And let's see. It's kind of brief. It goes from 685 to 720. But I'm always more than happy. And I've done it a few times. I've gone to my books, my volumes, to help somebody find something. pre-World War II tarot decks. I guess would be the German speaking or Hungarian. Vienna. And then the index. So I hope that this has been a little bit helpful for you to understand what you might get from each of the 4 volumes. Again, you may prefer to have certain volumes over others. They're not cheap. These books are kind of expensive, so you know, it would be helpful to know, you know, where your interest lies, so you could narrow down your search. And again, I'm always happy to look up anything that anybody has. You know, you may have to wait a couple days because I do have a schedule of, you know, for my own work, and also I babysit my granddaughter. So, you know, but I'm always happy to check it the next available time I have. Until next time, friends, peace and stay well.